The city of Lithoris gleamed under the pale light of 3 moons, its spires and towers reflecting the violet haze of an alien sky. Humans were still a rarity here, mostly diplomats, traders, or mercenaries. I had come as a cultural envoy, tasked with negotiating trade agreements between Earth and the Syndicate of Xylarian Systems. It was supposed to be straightforward diplomacy. Then I met her. Her name was Seraphine, an alien woman from the planet Vithera, where bioluminescent flora lit the night and gravity shifted in subtle waves. She was assigned as my liaison, a guide to ensure my safety while navigating Lithoris's labyrinthine political landscape. But from the moment I saw her, I realized she was unlike anyone I had ever known. Seraphine's skin shimmered faintly under the ambient lights, a soft opalescent glow that highlighted her angular features. Her eyes, elongated and deep violet, seemed to see not just the world around her but through it, reading motives and emotions as effortlessly as one might read a book. Her movements were fluid, almost like she was in sync with a rhythm I could not hear, a dance performed on invisible lines. The evening of the Syndicate Gala was meant to be ceremonial, formal speeches, presentations, and polite handshakes. I arrived wearing the standard envoy attire, crisp uniform, insignia of Earth on my chest. Seraphine appeared at the entryway in a gown that seemed to capture the very essence of the moon's glow. The dress clung and flowed simultaneously, reflecting light like liquid crystal. I froze. "You look stunning," I said before I could stop myself. The words felt inadequate. I had not intended to speak so casually, but they slipped from my mouth anyway. Seraphine paused, a flicker of amusement in her gaze. Her lips curved into a smile that was at once coy and commanding. She tilted her head slightly, and in one smooth motion, she closed the door behind us, sealing the corridor. "I do not usually respond to compliments so immediately," she said softly, her voice resonant with a melodic cadence. "But I will make an exception for you tonight." The gala's distant music and chatter became muffled as we stood alone, the air between us charged with an unfamiliar tension. I tried to process the surreal reality of the situation. I was alone with a being whose species I barely understood, in a city where everything defied the physics I had trained under, and she had intentionally shut us away. I began, but she raised a slender hand, stopping me mid-sentence. "No words yet," she whispered. "Actions speak louder here. Watch, and you may understand." Before I could ask what she meant, Seraphine began a series of subtle movements, gestures that at first seemed like an elegant stretch, but quickly revealed themselves as a sophisticated communication system. Each motion manipulated the air in micro-vibrations, sending signals to the bioluminescent sensors embedded in her gown. The colors shifted in response, creating patterns of light that pulsed with meaning. I realized she was speaking without sound, and I realized I had no choice but to learn. For what felt like hours, she guided me through a silent conversation, her eyes locking with mine, her hands weaving in the glowing patterns of her language. I responded haltingly, mimicking gestures, attempting to convey thoughts without words. It was exhausting and exhilarating. Then she paused and stepped closer. The glow from her gown bathed us in soft violet light. Her eyes searched mine, reading intentions and weighing truth. "You are sincere," she said finally, her voice low but steady, "and brave enough to attempt understanding without forcing control." I swallowed. I want to understand you," I admitted. Her smile deepened. "Understanding comes not from words, human, but from willingness and observation." She extended a hand. Tentatively, I took it. Her touch was warm, surprisingly human in its comfort, yet layered with an energy that tingled across my nerves. The night unfolded like a dream. She guided me through the hidden corridors of Lithoris, explaining the city's secret histories and dangers, sharing stories of diplomacy that were never recorded in official texts. I listened, awed by her intelligence and grace. Every action she took was purposeful, measured, and mesmerizing. At one point, we entered a chamber suspended high above the city. The floor was transparent, revealing the bustling streets below. Seraphine stood at the center, and I followed, feeling vertigo and trust intertwine. "You fear the fall," she observed. "I do," I admitted. She leaned closer, her face inches from mine. "Then let go, not of caution, but of doubt. Trust what you cannot yet understand. That is the first step to seeing clearly." I did. And for the first time, I felt weightless, not from the lack of gravity, but from the liberation of surrendering to her guidance. As dawn approached, Seraphine led me back to the corridor outside the gala. She paused, turning to face me fully. "Tonight was unusual," she said, eyes glinting with amusement, "but necessary." I smiled, my own heart racing. "I'm grateful." Before I could finish, she leaned forward, brushing a faint kiss against my forehead, a gesture both intimate and ceremonial. Then, with the same fluid motion that had defined her entire presence, she stepped back, giving me space to breathe. "I will see you again," she promised, voice low. "And next time, the door will remain open. For now, reflect." She walked away, leaving me in the corridor, the soft hum of the city below echoing in my ears. The door clicked softly behind her, and I realized the metaphor of that action. She had invited me in, shared a part of her world, and now left me with a choice to step further or remain outside. Weeks turned into months. Diplomatic missions continued, but I often found myself retracing the steps of that night, replaying her words, gestures, and expressions. Each memory revealed new layers of meaning I had not noticed before. I began to anticipate her guidance, understanding more of her silent language and the energy that defined her species. Eventually, she sought me out, smiling in the same knowing way she had the night she closed the door. "You have learned," she noted. "I am learning," I replied. "And I want to learn more." She extended her hand again, and I took it without hesitation. This time, the door behind us remained open, not just physically, but metaphorically. Trust had been established. Understanding had begun. Years passed. Diplomatic relations between Earth and Vithera strengthened, with our partnership serving as a symbol of cooperation and mutual respect. Seraphine and I became inseparable partners in both duty and trust. And through it all, the memory of that first night, the words, the smile, the closed door, remained the turning point. It was the night I truly understood the power of presence, patience, and perception beyond words. Finally, on a quiet evening overlooking the luminescent city, I spoke the words I had saved for all these years. "You look stunning." Seraphine smiled, and without hesitation, shut the door behind us, this time, not as a barrier, but as a private sanctuary where trust, understanding, and perhaps something more could flourish. And in that quiet space, we discovered that connection could transcend worlds, species, and even the unspoken limits of our own perceptions. Because some doors are meant to close not to isolate, but to invite, and some smiles carry the promise of universes waiting to be explored together.